Walk to the edge of the Tagus River in modern Lisbon, and you'll find an immense U-shaped plaza spanning 30,000 square meters. This vast geometric space dominates the waterfront today. But for centuries, you couldn't walk here. The ground we're looking at was entirely swallowed by the Ribeira Palace, the sprawling, opulent residence of the Portuguese monarchs. That royal stronghold vanished on the morning of November 1st, 1755. A massive earthquake struck the city, ripping the palace apart. Within an hour, a towering tsunami surged from the river, followed by firestorms that burned through the wreckage for days. The disaster wiped out the physical structure of the royal court. The massive palace library burned to ash, erasing over 200,000 books and the greatest archives of Portuguese history, literature, and maritime exploration. What remained was a terrifying void at the edge of the river. The royal headquarters was completely gone. But in that sudden, catastrophic clearing, the city's planners found a blank canvas. They were forced to build an entirely new vision for the capital from the ground up. Minister Marquis of Pombal discarded the cramped medieval streets. In their place, he designed a rigid, rational grid, terminating in a wide, symmetrical plaza. To ensure survival, engineers developed the Pombaline cage, an interlocking wooden lattice behind the stone facades, designed to flex and absorb a tremor. At the river's edge, they constructed the Cais das Colunas. This marble staircase served as the main gateway into the new square, flanked by two pillars designed as replicas of the columns from Solomon's temple, symbolizing wisdom and devotion. These deliberate design choices signaled a clear break from the past. The sprawling, disorganized royal palace was replaced by a marvel of structural engineering and civic logic. To anchor this new geometric space, a 14-meter monument was erected in the exact center of the plaza. It depicts King Jose I, mounted on horseback, positioned to look out over the river as a triumphant, commanding ruler. Creating this monument in 1774 required a massive leap in metallurgical engineering. Sculptor Joaquin Machado de Castro and his team cast the enormous bronze figure in a single continuous pour, making it the first equestrian statue ever produced in Portugal and one of the largest single-pour castings in the world at the time. If you look closely beneath the horse's raised front hoof, you'll see a bed of writhing snakes. It's a classical motif, the king and his steed physically crushing the chaos and devastation of the 1755 earthquake. The monument was a carefully engineered piece of political theater. By framing the king as an invincible conqueror of natural disasters, the crown projected absolute stability during a period when the nation was actually recovering from near-total ruin. While the statue glorified the king, the space itself underwent a major shift in identity. Locals had long called the area Terreiro do Paço, or Palace Yard. The rebuilding effort officially renamed it Praça do Comércio, the Square of Commerce. The royal residents didn't return. Instead, the symmetrical buildings lining the square were filled with port authorities, customs offices, and trading bureaus. The epicenter of the city moved away from the absolute authority of the monarch and toward the mercantile bourgeoisie. At the northern edge of the square stands the Arco da Rua Augusta. Originally planned right after the earthquake, this monumental archway took a full century to finish, formally acting as the grand exit from the plaza into the busy pedestrian grid of the Baixa district. Crowning the top of the arch are three massive allegorical figures. The central statue represents glory, holding two crowns, while she is flanked by valor and genius. Together, they are meant to embody the resilience and wisdom of the Portuguese people. Every detail of the square was designed to facilitate economic flow. Goods, merchants, and foreign dignitaries arriving by ship were funneled directly through the Cais das Colunas, past the customs houses, and straight under the arch into the city's commercial arteries. By the turn of the 20th century, this grand civic space had become the central stage for the country's deepest political fractures. On February 1, 1908, as the royal carriage crossed the square, assassins opened fire. King Carlos I and his heir, Prince Luís Felipe, were both killed. The Lisbon regicide shattered the surviving authority of the crown. Just 2 years later, the 1910 revolution brought an end to the monarchy altogether. Naval forces landed at the Kaistas Kalunis, and armed sailors and civilians marched directly across the square's wave-patterned cobblestones to occupy the capital. The site that had once housed the absolute power of the royals had slowly been handed over to the merchants, creating a vast public space that eventually allowed the people to dismantle the monarchy and establish a republic. Walk through Praça do Comércio today, and you'll find a massive pedestrian-friendly hub. Commuter ferries dock at the river, electric trams rattle past the yellow arcades, and crowds gather beneath the archway. Underneath the stucco and stone, the Pombaline wooden cages remain intact. The anti-seismic engineering that birthed this district has held the buildings together through centuries of heavy use and urban expansion. It is a space born from the ashes of one of the deadliest natural disasters in European history. By replacing a ruined royal compound with a monument to trade and engineering, Lisbon built a civic center strong enough to outlast the empire that created it.